Hridyantastu patrani vidnoti suhritsatam Nashtaprayeshu bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nastiki Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminate Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, Text 27. Ananta pare tamasi magno nasta smriti sama shashvatir no bhuyarti pramada sanga dushitaha. Ananta pare, unlimitedly expanded, tamasi, in the material existence of darkness, magna, being merged, nasta smriti, bereft of all intelligence, sama, for many years, shashvati, practically, eternally, anubhuya, experiencing, artim, the threefold miseries, pramada, of women, sangha, by association, dushita, being contaminated. Translation: due to his contaminated association with women, a living entity like King Puranjan eternally suffers all the pangs of material existence and remains in the dark region of material life, bereft of all remembrance for many, many years. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This is a description of material existence. Material existence is experienced when one becomes attached to a woman and forgets his real identity as the eternal servant of Krishna. Nasta Smriti. In this way, in one body after another, the living entity perpetually suffers the threefold miseries of material existence. To save human civilization from the darkness of ignorance, this movement was started. The main purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement is to enlighten the forgetful living entity and remind him of his original Krishna consciousness. And this way, the living entity can be saved from the catastrophe of ignorance as well as bodily transmigration. As Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has sung, Anadi karma phale padi bhavarnava jale tori bare na dekhi upaya ei vishay halahale divanishi hiya jal chale manaka kabhu sukho nahi paye. Because of my past fruitive activities, I have now fallen into an ocean of nescience. I cannot find any means to get out of this great ocean, which is indeed like an ocean of poison. We are trying to be happy through sense enjoyment, but actually the so-called enjoyment is like food that is too hot and causes burning in the heart. I feel a burning sensation constantly day and night, and thus my mind cannot find satisfaction. Mano kabhu sukha nahi paye. Material existence is always full of anxiety. People are always trying to find many ways to mitigate anxiety, but because they are not guided by a real leader, they try to forget material anxiety through drink and sex indulgence. Because they are not guided by a real leader, therefore they try to forget material anxiety through alcoholic drink, and sex indulgence. Foolish people do not know that by attempting to escape anxiety by drink and sex, they simply increase their duration of material life. It is not possible to escape material anxiety in this way. The word pramada sangha, dushita, indicates that apart from all other contamination, if one simply remains attached to a woman, that single contamination will be sufficient to prolong one's miserable material existence. Consequently, in Vedic civilization, one is trained from the beginning to give up attachment for women. The first stage of life is brahmachari, the second stage grihastha, the third stage vanaprastha, the fourth stage sannyasa. All these stages are devised to enable one to detach himself from the association of women. Om Jnana-timirindasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. So as mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in this verse, that this is a description of material existence. And how does one lead a materialistic way of life, and nature also gives them the chance to have a little longer duration sometimes of life, that now they will turn towards God, now they will turn towards God. But unfortunately, the materialistic people, they do not turn towards God. So here, King Puranjana, this is the last stage of King Puranjana in the story being related to King Prachin Bahari by Narada Muni, is describing that King Puranjana, having been so attached to Puranjani, his wife, and his children, and even at the thinking of his wife, that I am going to be soon okay, and again I will be enjoying with her. So that's how materialistic men think, like, it's just a small fever, it's just little flu, so I will be okay after some time, and then I still have a lot of life left in me. I will be able to enjoy some more years with my wife. But death does not wait for anybody's plans. It does come and take away the living entity by force, as was the case with King Puranjana. So, how this material life is being described here? Nasta smriti. One forgets the real purpose of life, which is to render devotional service to Lord Sri Krishna. So therefore, if you are not trained, one is not trained from the beginning of one's life, then a person will naturally develop watching other people around him or her, that everybody looks like they are enjoying. If you go to a party, you see that there are men and women, there is a drink in their hand, and there is some barbecue going on, or some food, meat, etc. Even if they are vegetarian, they will still have their drink, and they will have their chatpata things next to their drink, and they are all engaged in conversation, trying to seek pleasure from each other. And the one who is just watching as an observer also gets to think that, oh my God, they are having so much fun, looks like. They are drinking, they are smiling, they are smoking, So that is probably life. Maybe I should bring myself to that that level where I can be also part of that. But little do you know that, once you behave like that, you understand this is all fake. This is all fake. There is really no enjoyment. They are all just putting up an act. So trying to counter the fearful existence that they're facing, the anxiety that they face in their workplace or or the business place, that is playing havoc with their life internally. And then in order to reduce the anxiety, they are taking the shelter of these things like alcohol. Temporary alcohol temporarily will cause some symptoms of the anxiety to hide. It'll give you the temporary forgetfulness because you are not going to be remembering. But as soon as the effect of alcohol is gone, then the reality is again going to, just like when you sleep, in your dream, you are in a different place, different land, doing different activities. And when you wake up, you are, okay, it was a dream. It has passed. It may have been good. It may not have been that good. It may have been increasing your anxiety. It may have reduced your anxiety. So then you wake up and you are, so while being awake, the materialist people, they will want to do those things and try to forget temporarily the worries of birth, death, old age, disease, and think like, okay, there is a long time still. There is still a long time. So from childhood, we have to be trained, just like Narada Muni is describing to Vyasadeva in the first canto, that he was a child who was engaged in the beginning in serving the Rishi Munis, the saintly personalities. And he was a child, although born of a maid servant, but he was unlike other children his age. He was not interested in playing sports. He was like, not having many friends, not having any friend at all. And he was busy in listening to those saintly persons and serving them and having the remnant of the leftover by them. So the saintly people also bestowed their causeless mercy on him. So that was the verse we were reading a couple of hours ago, an hour or so ago. And that is how you develop the taste, they develop the understanding that in this world where we are, there is material world, matter, inert matter. There are the jivas, living entities, including the human beings. And then the human beings alone can find out through their intelligence that there is Krishna or there is God. But the materialistic persons, they directly deny the existence of God. They say, this is for my convenience, this material nature is existing. And it is for my convenience, the sky is decorated at night with the stars and moon. And during the day, it is for my convenience, the sun rises there. And that it is for my convenience that things grow. It is for my convenience that the other animals are there who I can catch and kill and eat. So materialistic persons think like that, without attaching any importance that I am such an idiot that I don't even understand that there is a plan behind it. Can I create something like this? Can a human being create something like this? But under false material education, we all tend to think, and then we are all, this in the association of women, in the association like-minded people, we all deride, we all deny the existence of God, and then think like, life is all about enjoying with the drinks, enjoying with women, enjoying with sex life, enjoying with, and this is what this is how they train their children also. So life after life, they are taking birth after birth. In what category of life, we don't even know. They have no idea. But the goal should be, as Prabhupada mentions, in the Vedic civilization, one should be trained right from the beginning of the life, or even from before the Garbhadan Sanskara, and then the Vanaprastha, the four Varnashram system, and then there are those who want to become Grihasthas from the Brahmacharya stage. They are allowed to beget children who they train them to become Krishna conscious, and then they take Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. In today's life, it's almost impossible to have Vanaprastha and Sannyas ashram because of the degradation, and there are hardly any facilities available. However, mentally we can renounce, even though living in a Grihastha ashram, we behave like Vanaprasthi or a sannyasi. This is the this is the way to bring sanity to society. Otherwise, we look at society in say countries like developing countries or developed countries. It is all rampant materialism. Everybody is looking to satisfy their senses only, because they do not know anything otherwise. If they do not know anything otherwise, then what one will do? You will have material education that guides you towards earning money and building a house, and everybody get carried away. A lot of people from India, we look at others and we feel like, oh, the Westerners are enjoying. But when we come here and we try to become like them, then we realize that, no, that's not really the right thing. But a lot of us who do come into contact with Srila Prabhupada's books, Association of Devotees, they realize that what is the real thing, and that I have been chasing after happiness from this material association, from having accumulation of so much of money, and that I will be happy. I will buy this car, and I will have this house, and I will have, have versus have nots. You educate yourself all for material advancement. Whereby, if a little inclination is there in human being to ask those basic questions, that is this it? Am I here only for this? And this is life is like, temporary for 50, 60, 70, 80 years old only. And then you fall sick and then you die. Is this what life is all about? And I have earned so much money, my millions and billions, they are going to be left behind. When I go, I cannot carry any of those things. So then they say, no, there has to be something else. We get information about the Lord, about the life, that we are all spiritual beings. Everybody, of human beings, somehow or the other, do come to know about soul. Because even though the education system is geared towards materialistic way of life, but still there are descriptions that you find about some soul, and there are curiosities are still there when you see sometimes a big church or a temple or a mosque, like So why are these structures there? So those things are there, and there are those who have some faith, develop some faith, they want to, out of curiosity, as Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, the artharthi, jigyasu, jnani. So their curiosity that is generated makes them venture into those churches or temples and to find out what goes on there. So when we make that inquiry, that's the beginning. And then you understand the eternal nature of the soul and the transmigration. There are still religions who do not believe in transmigration, but by one way or the other, there are descriptions in perhaps all religions about the transmigration of the soul. But it is very vividly described in the Vedic civilization, in the Vedic religions, in the books like Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. And one can easily relate to these things and then understand how we have been cheated of our real life by wanting to enjoy materially. We have progressed somehow. Of course, that is not very bad, because you do need some material, some activity to earn a living in a society, and some land, some agriculture, something to sustain. However, we should not run after too much accumulation. We should try to live in a grihastha ashram, that is through the Vedic ceremony of vivah, or the marriage. That is also a yajna or a sanskara. So we should understand the value of life is in simplicity, simple living, high thinking. And then when you understand that, I have a decent enough place of, dwelling, and I have, sufficient earning to get my food to eat, and I have free time to study Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and I have time to associate with devotees and do some service for the Lord, then that is what is needed. And whoever we come in contact with in such a simplistic way of life, we should be able to rub our influence on them and tell them also that simplistic way is the best way. Then you can be really happy from inside and outside, and it is going to reflect on your outside, and people around you will appreciate your behavior, your conduct, your character, and thereby you will be able to bring about a very small change. And that is exactly what a person like Srila Prabhupada did when he came to the West, and he brought such a change by trying to even convince those people who were discarded from the society, so-called materialistic society, who were so frustrated from this society that they became like alcoholics or druggies, but somewhere, someplace, like in their heart, Prabhupada touched them through his simplistic way of life, and his knowledge of the Vedic science, the spiritual science. And that has kind of ignited that spark that was there, buried deep in the ashes, and he fanned them so that it could become a flame. And that is exactly what we are seeing, that this movement has become a big fire now, and it is taken so many people into its fold that they are all deriving benefit and having a simplistic way of life, and teaching others also to live that way, so that at the end of our life, we are able to remember Krishna and not some women that we are, we associated or we are associating or something. We should focus on Krishna and thereby, attain that, abode of the Lord, the spiritual destinations, as opposed to recycling in this, material life, birth after birth, as this story of King Puranjana as being narrated by Narada Muni to Prachin Bari, that he becomes a woman in his next life. So the goal should be to revive our original spiritual nature and go back home in the spiritual realm, which is our real home in the spiritual world, from where we fell down into this material world because of our tendency to enjoy. Our nature is, by nature, we are servants of the servants of the servants of the Lord. So if we serve the Lord, then that way Krishna will be very happy. We serve the servants of the Lord. So that will make our life successful, and it will attract the attention of the Lord. I will stop here, and I thank you for joining in. If there are any questions or comments, please feel free to ask at this time.
So simple living, high thinking, beautiful. With this, I understand that we really do not have to take poverty vows to get closer to God, but rather to have a more conscious approach to life and our connection to God. Am I right in my assumption?
You are very right, and your assumption is correct. And once you understand that you are the eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, when you connect with Him, then you understand that who does this, whole material and spiritual worlds belong to. And if you are part and parcel of that same Lord, then it belongs to you also. However, you only need to take whatever is necessary for you for your sustenance. And from that also, if you can offer a portion, from that also you first dedicate it to the Lord, just like we cook something and we offer it to the Lord. Although it is a symbolic thing, but Krishna is everywhere, is omnipotent. He can, and if we ring a bell, he can hear, he can, from his ears also he can eat. His glance also is enough. So if you are attracting attention of the Lord towards the bhoga, towards the offering, then that becomes sanctified food. And when you eat such food, although you cooked it and you are eating it, but that gesture is what is appreciated by the Lord. And that's what connects you to Him. So therefore, once you make God your own, then everything that is God's creation is your own. Then do you want to abuse that? Thinking that everything is mine, do you want to abuse that? Similarly, there are others also who are there. They also should think. You should use things and not abuse things. And there are certain things that are recommended for consumption. There are certain things that are not recommended. So we should just follow the simple way of life and live happily, peacefully, and rub these things on to others by our own example. Thank you so much for asking this question. Anything from the temple? Hare Krishna, thank you for joining in. And
Hare Krishna. Our apologies, we are streaming. We're trying to stream from YouTube, and that has a complete class. But some people could not connect or make or comment through through YouTube. The reason we have to start it streaming in Facebook Live. So anyways, again, for the beginning of the class, you can please check the video, also shared in on our page. And a reminder that tomorrow we have our Sunday feast. Our guest speaker is Her Grace Ananga Manjari Devidasi, disciple of Srila Prabhupada. The temple is open today from 9 to 11 a.m. and tomorrow from 5 to 7:30 p.m. Masks are required and the social distancing as well, and any protocol that the temple may have, so please do follow those. And we'll resume Srimad Bhagavatam class tomorrow at 7:35, either via Zoom, Facebook Live, or YouTube. And from 5 to 6:15, we have Japa chanting, as well as reading of one shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam from first canto. Thank you. Hare Krishna.